morning, everybody. My name is Lorene. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. And this is my husband, Steve.
Hello.
And somewhere in the background is the cat, O.W.L.s. So this is our last installment of the O.W.L.s readathon for us. We are pretty much all caught up, aren't we?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So you finished your last book.
I did. My last book was, I did not go with the book of imperceptibly amusing puns, since technically it starts with the T, not I.
Oh, all right.
But also because I actually felt like I could get through a substantial book. So I read O.W.L.s' If on a Winter's Night a Traveler, which begins, you are about to begin reading O.W.L.s' new novel, If on a Winter's Night a Traveler. Relax, concentrate, dispel every other thought. Let the world around you fade. Best to close the door. The TV is always on in the next room. And it's a book about reading. It's a book about beginnings and missing endings, about the challenge of being a reader and reading for the joy of reading, or reading for the purposes or intent or politics of the book. It eventually entangles the reader with another reader, and with a translator, and with a publisher, and with various other characters in the pursuit of trying to read past the first chapter of a novel. And every time the reader gets to the end of a chapter, the rest of the novel is missing, and the reader goes on a search for the next chapter, finds a new version, but it turns out to be a different novel altogether.
So is there ever an ending?
There is an ending. And the ending...
Without spoiling it.
Yes. And the ending is really a reflection on the condition of being a reader.
Oh, well.
So.
Yeah, that sounds like a winter book, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So of all the books that you read, which one was the best?
I think I enjoyed them all in different ways. I hadn't read If on a Winter's Night a Traveler for probably 30 years, and so there was lots of aspects of it that I remembered, but lots that I didn't. The book on Coventry was interesting for the reasons I said last time, and I think that the one that was perhaps the most expansive in terms of knowledge and culture and the kinds of things you get by going on a journey of reading a novel was The Stolen Bicycle, because of
yes.
Not only the background story, but the kinds of perceptions that were underlining the motivations of the main character. So,
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's the one you might recommend the most out of the group?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, cool. So you get your O.W.L.s for being a wand maker.
So I'm now a wand maker.
I think you have to do the newts to actually be able to claim that, but I'm not positive.
The newts?
Those are the ones in August. You do It's the same deal, except in order to finally get your levels.
I see.
These are the O levels, and you need your A levels, which are the newts.
Okay.
Right, yeah. So if you feel like some academia in August, well, we'll be where there isn't any power, so who's to say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was so interested in what Steve was reading last week, I forgot to mention what I had finished, and I forgot to grab it. Do you mind grabbing it just on the radiator there? Oh, well, I'm spread out all over the place. So I finished reading Decline of the English Murder by George Orwell, and there's 6 essays, and I spoke about it a little bit last time, but I'm going to say that the first essay was entertaining. He's gone on a he's gone on a deliberate journey down into the slums, and sort of trying to get drunk and get caught by the police, and doesn't quite reach his goal, but it's entertaining. The rest of them, I don't know, maybe I like his writing, but I just don't really understand his essays. They seem to be, they weren't linked in any way, and I wasn't 100% sure what his premise was going into each essay, so didn't love it. Then the next one I read was Murder at Blackburn Hall by Sarah Rosette. That was an audio book that was put out by Hoopla, the local library, and that was one of those cozy murders. where the woman involved is a socialite just after World War One, and through the guise and guiles of being female, she manages to solve a mystery that the police are too stupid to get. So very much in a certain recipe. Yeah, and it was okay. And as an audiobook, it was actually more palatable. Had it been a book in hand, I think I might not have bothered, but this was just the right tone exactly for things like washing the dishes too, or taking a walk with, and so forth. So there are, I think there might be 3 in that series. The next one has to do with Egyptology, which is not my favorite. I don't know why, it just doesn't excite me too much. So anyways, she's an interesting author to listen to if you like a cozy mystery. And the other one that I had to do for Magical Creatures was North and South by Richard Outram. That's a book of poetry that I have been reading to the cat in our afternoon when she's having a nap and I'm having a little drink. That's when the cat gets read 5 poems. So I think I have 5 more poems to go and then I'm done. And that's it for me being a herbologist. But I decided in the excitement of everything that I could also be an animagus. So in order to do that, I needed 3 more owls. And for that, I had to do something outside my genre, which we chose the read aloud, The Voyage of Simba, a story of a boat barely afloat, it seems to me. We're doing it as a read aloud. Steve is reading it to me patiently while I sit on the couch, mostly horrified.
Yeah, occasionally shouting and demanding to know what the hell they thought they were doing.
I know, it's like...
As if I could answer.
Yes, Steve is not part of the thought process in their heads, but yeah, as a sailor, I just think maybe there's some logic to that kind of a stupid decision, but so far you don't know either.
Not on a lot of it, no. I'm not sure why you would embark on a voyage on the Atlantic in the middle of winter.
Yeah. I think the buzzer's going to go in a second, which means a call out for brownies. You're going to rescue the brownies, aren't you?
I will.
Okay. So thanks for joining me on this trip. Did you enjoy the readathon?
Oh, it was good. Yeah, it was amusing.
Yeah. Well,
all
thanks.
Right.
I appreciate
Bye-bye.
it. You really can't mess around with a pan of brownies. When they cool, they will be eaten quickly. Steve doesn't understand the notion about brownies. He's expecting them to be rationed out. And I went, no. When a pan of brownies comes out of the oven, you let it cool, and then you just eat until they're gone. So this is new territory for Steve. So the other, The Voyage of Simba, I'm not even going to try to finish that by the end of the month. We're just going to keep reading it as the urge hits us, because it is so outside of my genre that my toes are just curling with horror every time we come anywhere near a wave. I just think, oh my God, we're going to all drown. So yeah, I might not finish that book. The other one I had to do for Animagus is Potions, book under 150 pages. So for that one, I chose Tintin, the 7 Crystal Balls. And what I had forgotten, I really enjoyed it. Tintin is a French comic, I believe. This is translated into English. And what I had forgotten about is it's just a great big long story that goes on and on. So we're picking it up where Tintin is arriving in a train to go and visit the captain.
Belgian.
Pardon?
Belgian,
sorry. And then by the time we finish it, their Calculus, the fellow Calculus, has been kidnapped by some bad fellows. So we leave the book in an aeroplane. And I just had forgotten that was part of the trend. So in order to continue the story, I will have to find the Prisoners of the Sun. I liked it. I forgot. It's so goofy. I just forgot how goofy it was. And it seems a very slapstick. The only one who's not really getting into any trouble is Tintin. And the dog, of course, seems to be more alert to everything than anybody. But it was fun, a little bit over the top. But I guess that's part of it, right? It's a comic meant to be amusing, and it's a bit like a cozy read as well. I think if I remember correctly from book to book, there are certain goofy things that happen over and over, and the mystery is ongoing, and parts get solved, and then another thing rears up. So Yeah, I enjoyed it. I can see why it was enjoyable to my son back when he was reading. And the last thing I had to do for Animagus is a transfiguration book. So for that, I chose Howl's Moving Castle by Diane Wynne Jones. And this had been previously chosen for my YA book club, the older group of it's not, they're not old, well, they all are older, the longer running book club. So this is going to be for a month from now. So I had it in the house, and Sophie, in the very beginning, first few chapters, gets transformed into an older woman, somewhere between the ages of 80 and 90, and goes from being a young girl to being a fairly arthritic and a more grumpy person. I mean, her personality changes too. She's not quite so compliant. As she gets older, she realizes that she can say and do quite a lot of things that she can't as a young girl. So it's freeing for her personality. So she has a physical transformation as well as a personality transformation. And the other characters in the book also have different transformations. Howl is a fairly selfish, self-involved wizard who's, well, I think he's got more on the ball than he lets out, but he has that kind of Scarlet Pimpernel approach of everything's just languid and fine, and he's not actually using his brain or using his powers for good, but I think he's a little more on the ball than that. And let me see, oh my goodness, Calcifer, is that his name? Yes, the demon that is in the fireplace is also transformed. There's a lot of good magic in here. What I love about Diane Wynne Jones is she's not really creating a magical world in a way, in the sense that the magic is just there right from the get-go. So she doesn't have to, she creates a setting that is just so entirely plausible with the condition of magic existing, that there isn't a whole lot of heavy-handed world building to kind of let you know what are the rules and what are the consequences, and in some way it's just, you know, rural England except with magic. And she also has a way of presenting the magic as just a logical part of breathing. And so nobody's, well, we don't have the dynamic of pro-magic and anti-magic. It's just the dilemma is within the confines and constraints of a magical world. So I really love that it's so normalized, because I would love if that a Diane Wynne Jones setting I would just love to live in. If it would be just so great if you could have some of these kinds of cool things happening in your life. So that's it for Owls for both of us. I am on my way to being a herbologist if I finish the poetry book, and I am pretty much done being an animagus. So yay for me. I look forward to talking to you next week. I hope all your dreams of books are met and you continue to have adventures. Bye-bye for now.